join me in pledge allegiance to the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Dr. O'Neill?
Present.
Mr. Healy?
Present.
Ms. Spades?
Present.
Mrs. Barnes-Griffin?
Present.
Mr. Urban?
Present.
Mr. Webb?
Present.
We have everyone present. We will turn to item 319, personnel. We're very excited this evening. We have Tamika Wilson, who's going to become tonight, hopefully, our assistant, one of our assistant principals at Southside Middle School. Tamika was formerly 6th grade teacher there, teacher of the year for the district, and we got principal at a charter school.
Yes.
Years back. So we are extremely excited to have Tamika in this role, and look forward to many years of having you with us. Dawn Clycorn. Dawn is also going to be an assistant principal at Southside Middle School, and she was with Corey at Richmond. So hopefully the folks in Richmond don't feel like we're rating them.
It's all right. It's all right.
And before that, special ed at Westfield Washington, is that right? So welcome, Dawn, and we are extremely excited about good things happening at Southside Middle School, and just couldn't be happier for the team that's down there. And I think this is the best I've felt in 2 years. Not saying anything about anybody prior, but I feel really good about this team. So that's on your personnel agenda as Appendix 1. Any questions? We've got a motion for approval. We've got a second from Mrs. Barnes-Griffin. Rachel?
Thank you.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Welcome. So with that, we can go to item 320. And Dr. Kay, are you going to present that? Or?
Yes, I am.
Did you see how I took the fun, easy thing? And we got to this point, the really hard, uncertain thing. I said, Dr. Kay, you can take this one.
And we are ready to go. And it's hot off the press. So if you want to warm your hands, just feel the paper because we just finalized this. Just to help everybody that's watching live streaming understand our process, we started with a reopening school task force. That task force consisted of several board members, Jim Lowe, Jim Williams, and Latasha Barnes-Griffin. So we appreciated their additional time, as well as central office staff and principals. We created subcommittees based on tasks we identified. The subcommittees expanded their groups to also include some teachers, some parents, community members, and the subcommittees brought back recommendations. Those recommendations have made it into our reopening plans. We had a parent advisory group that I shared the plans with. I've spoken with teachers and students. And then today I conducted a WebEx and invited teachers to join. And we had 200 plus teachers that participated. So I appreciated their time and some of the comments that they sent back with some additional questions. And yesterday, we also had a WebEx with all of our administrators. And so I believe that we have received a lot of feedback on our reopening plan. And so with that, the way that I went through it with our teachers and our principals, rather than going section by section and page by page, I just tried to do an overview, and then you certainly are welcome to read all the details because our subcommittees did a remarkable job. Our plan is for tomorrow, we will be releasing this, and we'll have a higher level version that would go out to families and to the community, that there will be a link and the detailed plan will be available for anyone that's interested. So with that, to begin with, we decided that this year we needed to offer choices for our families. So I've mentioned that at other board meetings, so we will offer a traditional on-site program, which is your normal Monday through Friday version of school. And then we also will offer a virtual learning program. We're asking to have a semester commitment. With that being said, if we have someone that wants to participate in the virtual learning program and that's not working for them, they will just reach out to us, and we want to make sure students are successful. Our traditional program will be using a blended approach to make sure that we're prepared if we ever have to move back into a remote learning environment with all of our students. We are going to implement a screening process. We've already done that with our central office staff, where each day we have to take our temperatures, we have to make sure we don't have any of the signs, or that we haven't been around anyone that has tested positive. If that happens, then we have to contact a supervisor and then HR. We're going to implement that with all of our teachers, and then we're going to ask our parents to implement that with their students. So we will not be taking temperatures. The Board of Health said that, first of all, not everyone with COVID-19 even has a temperature. And secondly, we'd be defeating our purpose of our two goals are to decrease instances of large group gatherings and to minimize the number of contacts throughout the day. And if we had everyone trying to gather for temperature checks, we'd be defeating our purpose. So there's been a lot of questions about the virtual learning program. It is a 5-day-a-week program for grades K through 12. We will have scheduled classes. A word you're going to often hear now with virtual learning is synchronous or asynchronous. Synchronous means they're scheduled classes. So if you have a math class at 9 o'clock each day, you may get on live and be with a teacher for that math class. So it's not going to be as loose as it was in the spring when we were trying to figure out what a remote learning would look like. We also are purchasing a robust curriculum that's often used in virtual learning schools, Edgenuity for the elementary, Apex for secondary. With Apex, we offer that now for some of our credit recovery, but this program for virtual learning would not look like a credit recovery class. We will be taking attendance on a daily basis. We'll have expectations for both online and offline learning. We will offer social and emotional learning support, while we'll have an administrator and teachers who are solely responsible for the virtual program. Well, I shouldn't say our administrator is not solely responsible. That'll be one responsibility. Our teachers will be virtual learning teachers. They're not going to be trying to do both models. We will have the students who are coming from their schools that are selecting that program, the counselors, the student assistance coordinators, some of our behavior specialists will still be offering student social and emotional learning support for those students. Right now, our lunch program will still allow parents for a virtual program to come in on Monday and pick up a week's supply of breakfast and lunch like we're doing in the summer. As long as the federal guidelines don't change, we'll continue with that. If a student in a virtual program is interested in participating in extracurricular activities or clubs, that is still an option. They are our students and they would still have that opportunity. We will do orientation, or some call it onboarding, with both students and parents and guardians to make sure that they really understand the systems, they understand the requirements, and they know what they're signing on for with a virtual learning program. And then finally, all of the students will be given devices K2 will have iPads, 3 through 12 will have Chromebooks, and if a family needs internet access, they will receive a hotspot for their home. So that is our virtual learning program. For our traditional school program, I'll start off with the general, what we're going to make sure is happening in all of our schools. So all of our schools will have sanitizers, they're going to have masks, we will have signage and posters for social distancing, for good hygiene. We'll have the arrows on the floor. We're going to create like a road where there are directions where students will be walking. In classrooms, we're asking teachers to remove any additional items so we can spread out our desks. Desks will be facing forward. Everything that we don't want to do, we want kids to collaborate, to work together. This year, that won't be what we'll be seeing in our classrooms. We also will have multiple entrances for the beginning and the end of the school day. And so that, again, is to help us minimize or decrease instances of large group gatherings. And so we will identify, parents are dropping off students, maybe at one door. Students that are walkers may come in through another door. We may have a couple doors identified for buses, and we will make sure that we have coverage for when students are entering those doors. We also have plexiglass barriers that we've installed in those highly frequented areas. So our secretaries have plexiglass barriers. Our speech teachers, I believe, will have those, as well as our psychologists. We have them in the lunchrooms for sneeze protectors. And, if we find other areas, SSC has done a great job, and they actually are making our plexiglass barriers. So we're trying to be as resourceful as possible while we're getting prepared to be safe when we open up schools. Access to the media center is going to be limited. So we've asked our media assistants can gather groups of books to send to the classroom. Students would be able to use those. When they're returned, they'll be sanitized and put back on the shelf. So we won't have kids in there roaming and selecting different books. So now I'll move into what an elementary school might look like. And so for elementary school, we're going to ask that students stay with their classroom cohort as much as possible. And so that means when it's time to go outside for playgrounds, the students in that classroom will be assigned a certain place on the playground to go play. We are not going to be having classes commingle, and so we still are going to make the day look as normal as possible, but it will be with that class cohort that will be staying together. For breakfast, last year we moved to breakfast in the classrooms in the elementary schools. That will continue. The same thing with, for lunches, we'll use a hybrid approach. So what that means is we believe that it's important for students to still get some time to have that cafeteria experience. But then we also know we're going to try to find other areas, if we can find other areas for lunches. So there may be some tables in the hallways. It's easier at the high school, the commons area, they'll do that. Maybe some classrooms would go outside to eat while the weather's nice, but we will have to utilize some classrooms for lunchrooms in the classrooms as well. So all the principals will be working on those schedules, and we'll make sure that there's a good rotation, that students are having different experiences. But again, they'll always be with their cohort. When they're in the cafeteria, they're going to be assigned seats, and they'll always be going to those same seats. We'll designate restroom areas for classrooms and also times, knowing that we have to be flexible. That for some of our young students, if they need to go to the restroom, we'll have to give passes, and we'll have to work through them on how to socially distance and be safe when we use restrooms. Moving into the high school, secondary, middle school, and high school, we are going to move to a modified block schedule. So what that looks like, again, this is to minimize the number of contacts throughout the day. We will have classes 1, 2, 3, 4. The next day, classes 5, 6, 7, 4. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, or a little bit over 100 minutes. Period 4, which will be daily, is 60 minutes. Some will ask, why did you do that? The reason for period 4, we have teachers that are shared between the high school and the middle school. And so we couldn't have a Spanish teacher in 2 places at the same time. So that's how we ended up with this schedule. So some of the feedback that I received when I was, when we were asking teachers, they said, boy, that sounds great, but that means that we're not going to have a prep every day. We'll just have a longer prep every other day. And we recognize that would be really tough for our teachers. So I am proud to say that after we had conversations with MITS, today MITS has agreed, and so this is something else we're going to have to ask of you. If you look in the books that I gave to you on page 11, it starts about school start and dismissal times. So elementary would be the same. For middle school, we are asking that doors open at 9. MITS would be able to drop off at 9. In the past, it was 8:40. And then the start time, they would go immediately to class for breakfast in the classrooms, but then the tardy bell, or when they officially start, would be 9:15. For the high school, before MITS would drop them off at 7:40, they would be able to drop them off at 8, and then the tardy bell again would be at 8:15. So the extra 20 minutes in the morning, teachers would still arrive at their same time, but that is going to give teachers just a little bit of time to be able to have a prep time each day. So I was very happy that MITS was able to, they had to do some rerouting and work to be able to help make that work for us. When I talked to teachers today, at that time we didn't have an answer if they would be able to have a little prep time each day. And really none of the teachers even pushed back when we talked about going to a modified block schedule. So I know they should be pleased that we were able to get that accomplished for them. The MAC schedule is not going to change. They will still be on their normal times that they've always used in the past. That is because we have sending schools that are doing a Monday through Friday, 7 periods a day. They are not making changes. And so we needed to make sure that, we could accommodate all the sending schools as well. So for our students, we will work case by case and create schedules that will work for them. We're confident that we'll be able to do that. And the same with the Youth Opportunity Center. They will not change any of their start or dismissal times. That will remain the same. At the middle school and high school, we are also not going to utilize lockers, because that is another way of decreasing instances of large group gathering. So we will have students that will carry book bags. When weather gets cold, that's something we know we're going to have to work through. We can't be carrying coats around all day. And so we'll get to that. It will give us a chance to get started, and then we'll keep working on what that means, and we'll be able to evaluate how this is looking for us. Cafeterias, we were moving to breakfast in the classroom for grades 6, 7, and 8. For high school, we will set carts up at all the entrances, and it will be a grab and go. They'll be able to get their bag and take it with them to their classroom. With having over 1,200 students, it would be too difficult to try to deliver breakfast to all those classrooms. For physical health, we will restrict visitors and volunteers. We're also going to limit the Ball State University students. We will have student teachers still in our buildings, but some of the practicum students, we will find virtual distant learning opportunities for them. We've been working closely with the Teachers College, Dean Weaver. I have to give him a shout out tonight. I know they're doing a virtual sending off because this is his last night, and, you know, he's been a great partner for us, and so I can't be there to celebrate, but I'm celebrating him right now. And the new dean also, Dean Murray, he has also been involved in working through what the student teachers and practicum teachers, what that looks like. We also have some students from other colleges through psychology and nursing. They will still be part of working with our school psychs and with our nurses. Speaking of nurses, we are going to be identifying a separate room for those who have COVID-19 symptoms. And we will be working closely. If anyone tests positive for COVID-19, we will work closely with the Department of Health, because depending on the number of contacts and what it looks like in schools, there may be different responses for an elementary class or teacher compared to someone at the high school. And so we are prepared to work through all of those cases. Hand washing is what the Department of Health is telling us is critical, either through hand washing or making sure that we're using hand sanitizer frequently. So we will have that available. We are going to be encouraging flu vaccinations, and we'll be finding ways for those to take place at school. We are going to be disallowing field trips except for Camp Adventure. And then we also have some field trips through, I'm trying to think of the community work through with our life skills classroom. So those will also be a case-by-case situation. We are also going to develop systems for parents to call to check out their students if they have to pick them up throughout the day. We'll make sure they're safe. Elementary, we'll find someone to walk them out to cars. Just because we're limiting interaction in our schools, when I talk to teachers today, that doesn't mean we have to close people out of our schools. We learned a lot through Zoom meetings and WebExes. We can have a parent meeting, a parent open house through a Zoom meeting. So there are still ways that we can engage with our parents in our community. It just is not going to be, for at least this time being, person to person. Regarding transportation, Auxilio and MITS both will require drivers to wear face masks. Face masks will be available for our students. There will be hand sanitizer on buses. Auxilio will be cracking windows as long as the weather is above 50 degrees. For our Auxilio bus routes, we will assign seats. We will put first siblings together, and then if they don't have a sibling, we'll put a classmate. So as much as possible, that's how we'll be assigning seats. And the other good news is that we are also going to be able to create for this year additional routes for our middle schools to reduce the number of students on the MITS buses. So that will be also something very positive we believe we're going to be able to do. For technology, all students in K-12, both our traditional program as well as virtual, will have devices and cases that they'll be taking home with them regularly. For students who do not have internet access, we'll be identifying hotspots to send home. So what that means is early on, Tony is changing our registration process, and he's back at the back making sure we already have 2,000 students who have registered. Now we're going to change it for any moving forward. We can find out if they need internet access or not, and we will find a way to capture for those first 2,000 students. We will not need every student to have a hotspot, because if we have one for a family, it would work on all the multiple devices. And so that's something else we're going to be coordinating. We also will have an expectation for all of our students and teachers. They're going to be expected to use our learning management system, Schoology, on a daily basis. If we have to move to a remote learning environment, we know paper packets, as much as we appreciate all the effort and we did the best we can do, we know we can do better, and we'll have an LMS so that there will be ways to have updated materials and to personalize and to be able to chat and take tests and monitor progress better. Currently, Chuck and Steve Spradlin are working on the norms for the use for Schoology, and we also have some super users who are working with Southwest Allen and Steve Spradlin as working through our reading series, creating blended learning materials to help our teachers the first 4 weeks, with the expectation that once they understand and they're using them, they'll start developing them together with their cohort teams in their buildings. Ball State University is offering a remote learning boot camp. After the 4th of July, they'll be sending out registration information, and we highly recommend our teachers to participate. I've just heard it's a great boot camp where I've talked about synchronous and asynchronous. This remote learning boot camp is asynchronous, which means it will last from July until October. So if you have someone that just wants to go through it all in one weekend and all the modules, they can finish up right away. It will be available if someone wants to go at a slower pace all the way through October. So their own time and pace will be available to them. We also will have Schoology Academy that Steve Spradlin will be offering in August, a couple days in August. And what we said to the teachers today, this is really the carrot for them, because if they participate in the summer Schoology training, they'll receive a stipend. And then they also, the very first day when we have teachers back, all teachers will participate in Schoology training. But if they participated in the summer, that's their ticket that they don't have to go through it again unless they want to go through a second time. And as we're busy trying to prepare that very first day to be back, that will give them a little bit more time. So we're trying to give them a little bit of a carrot. We also, with assessments, we talked about looking at our assessments that we had in place and paring them down and finding ways of making sure our assessments are giving us the best information that teachers can immediately use. So we are moving to use iReady. iReady, when it will be assessed, and teachers will immediately be, students will be grouped based on their skill level. But what we really like about iReady is it has an online reading and math remote learning platform that students actually would be able to do while they're in school, while teachers are working with small groups, or we could be using it for homework at night, or if we have to move to remote learning, it's another way where it would be personalized based on a student's need so that we are really moving our students forward. And that's one reason we really like that. Then we also are going to rely on our adoptions all have assessments built into those. So teachers were saying, I'm giving my assessments based on our curriculum, and then I'm having to do even more. So we're taking out that even more to pare it down to just through our adoptions and through iReady. For social emotional learning, our multi-tiered system of support is being strengthened. That's part of our strategic plan. We have Ball State ambassadors that will be coming in to make sure our MTSS system with our teachers and our principals is strong. And then they also will be helping us with interventions. For our social emotional learning, Jenny has done such a great job as Director of Special Ed and Director of High Ability that we have given her one more hat to wear, and that is leading the work of social and emotional learning in our district. So she'll be working closely. She's not doing it on her own. She's working closely with Ball State, working closely with all the people that we have in our schools to support social and emotional learning. We have counselors in every one of our schools. We have BCBAs, which if you ask me what BCBA stands for, it has to deal with behavior. We have behavior specialists in our schools. And so we have student assistance coordinators in our schools, all to help with social emotional learning. So we're gonna have a more coordinated effort to be able to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our students as well as teachers. We also are investing in an online social emotional care platform called Ripple Effects. Many of you last year heard teachers and principals talk about second steps. It was a cell curriculum that they would deliver to their classrooms. The Ripple Effects is created by the person who created the second steps. But it's online and it's more personalized. So a student can identify the area that they need some assistance, and they would be able to go through a culturally relevant tool to be able to help them with their supports. I also want to mention that Meridian Health, through some of our foundations, has created a COVID-19 first aid, and we will be having all of the folks that I mentioned that are providing social and emotional support go through that Meridian Health first aid course this summer. And then we also will be having our counselors go out to Camp Adventure to learn ways that we can still take kids out to Camp Adventure for different types of social and emotional support for our classrooms. So bear with me, we're almost finished. With our special education, we're going to find innovative ways to make sure we meet our compliance with all the mandated federal mandates. So Jenny is working on finding creative ways, and they are outlined in the document. She will be going through these with our special ed teachers. She had great support with families of students who have special needs, with psychologists, with some of the different teachers and students. And so she really had great input in creating our guidelines. Last week you heard our athletic plan. We now have a similar extracurricular and co-curricular activities plan. And then anticipating that we ever have to move to a remote learning, we've created some telework guidelines to make sure everybody knows what our expectations would be. So with that, I want to say that what we need to underscore is the plan that we're sharing today based on how COVID-19 changes by day and minute by minute. These plans are fluid and we will adapt them. We also know that we're trying some different things in our schools, and if something is not working, we'll go back to the drawing board and we will try to find a better way of approaching what new method we've come up with. Our whole goal is to make sure that we're safe and to make sure that we provide the best learning for our students as possible. And so that is all of our task force, our subcommittees, and all the different people who have offered input. This is the best plan for you that we have moving forward. So with that, we'll take any questions you might have.
So one last point is this in no way changes the calendar. You may have said that.
This does not change our calendar.
Stays the same.
Our calendar stays the same for all the programs.
And even the tardy bells at 8:15, 9:15 don't interfere with like instructional time in the classroom. They'll still.
So we're going to lose about 15 minutes of instructional time for students, but in a way, they used to not go to classrooms because they would eat breakfast and be in the hallways. So we're gaining some of that back by having breakfast in the classrooms.
And the reduction of passing periods. We have fewer passing periods too.
But the bells, I think your question was, the change in times create a situation where the bells are disturbing other ongoing classes.
No, because we're doing it by the entire school will be following the same bell schedule.
It was more about like they have to have 180 days, but I didn't know if we were losing some. It doesn't matter about minutes in the class. It's more of a-
And so under House Enrollment Act 1315, our district has been given quite a bit of flexibility, but we still will be attending school 180 days, and there's no seat time requirement for the state. But even with that, we are doing a great job with the number of minutes the students are going to be receiving instruction.
Any additional questions?
You know, just a comment, this is a phenomenal plan. Everyone who is involved in this should feel a real sense of pride, because the number of people that had to come together and work together and help us to be truly a model of what can happen in extraordinary circumstances. I'm very proud of this. I had no part in it, but it's phenomenal. And thanks to everyone involved.
We have a great team in Muncie Community Schools. I say that over and over and over again, remarkable people. And I'm very appreciative of all of them, and everybody stepped up and did a great job making sure we had a good plan. It was a good team effort.
Just a point of clarification. Are masks required?
Masks are not going to be required. They're going to be highly encouraged. Now, if the state comes out and says masks are required, then we will require them. At this time, it's highly encouraged.
My understanding is the Department of Health, state is watching that on a pretty close basis right now, given what we're seeing nationwide. So obviously it's without being too direct about it, it's a point of contention with a lot of folks. So I think there's some concern about level of controversy. We'll see what the next few weeks bring on a lot of that side, obviously. On behalf of the board, want to extend our deep appreciation to administration, leadership, faculty, staff, everyone who has continued to work under extraordinary and challenging conditions to get us to this point where we're prepared to address this reopening plan, which is very thorough and well done, and obviously easily adaptable to circumstances that may present themselves going forward. So with that expression of appreciation, do we have a motion? Lawrence Griffith's got a motion.
Second.
Sorry, Mark, I believe Mrs. Fiddles. Got the second in first. It's hard to tell with the mask. Brittany was a second. Mark tried to do the second.
Getting closer.
So with that, all those in favor say
We need a power change.
We did a resolution last week
Okay.
on anything that convicted with COVID policy. The COVID was had to give away. The other item that we can perhaps tack on to that motion, if Latasha is so inclined, is that the administration be given discretion to amend those conditions needed to be amended given the circumstances, and as they change, provided that they're brought to the board at the next meeting for consideration. So, Natasha, do you have any problem with amending your motion? And Brittany, do you have any problems with? Okay, so Rachel, effectively what we're doing is we're voting on the reopening plan, and then we are also giving the administration discretion to modify or amend it as needed on an immediate basis, subject to review and approval by the board at the next scheduled meeting. Okay. Anything further before we vote on this? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, great. Well done. Well done. Good stuff. Number 321. Liam?
This is another exciting time, right? 2 plans in one night, I tell you. Well, after a year, more than a year, of the community and Ball State University and Muncie Community Schools working together. We finally have our Muncie Community Schools Academic Innovation Plan and Strategic Plan that went live today. And so Jim, I'm going to let you, I've just spent a lot of time talking. Let's have a new.
Sure.
Yes, I'm positive.
The board has been provided with copies ongoing, as it's actually by statute called the Report on Financial Condition and Academic Innovation Plan. It was required by statute to be sent to the Superintendent of Public Instruction, the Commission for Higher Education, and DUAP. Those have all been filed appropriately and acknowledged receipts. We sent courtesy copies to friends of MCS in the legislature, the governor's office. You all have seen the plan, the strategic plan that had been shared all along, and edits were provided by you all to Dr. Kwiatkowski. I think they're a remarkable set of documents. The feedback received to this point from our generous benefactors has been uniformly positive. They're thorough, they're very detailed, and they represent also significant and thorough and comprehensive voices from throughout the community. And I think that's the thing that I'm maybe most proud of, is that the listening sessions that occurred all over the district over the course of the last year or so, aided by United Way and other entities, resulted in significant feedback from the community. We had significant feedback from our faculty and administrators from the Innovation Summit, and significant feedback from the national panel of experts. All of that has found its way in one form or another into this document. And it is a living document. It will be subject to supplementation, amendments, as we move forward, given, again, challenges that will come up or opportunities that come up that none of us has yet foreseen. So everybody in this room has participated in many different forms over the course of the past 2 years, actually about 2 years ago exactly. So everyone has my deepest gratitude. This board has been remarkable, and I couldn't be prouder of the product that is out there. And so congratulations to all of you for all of your work and effort. And I think our leadership team, our principals, our faculty, really, I just couldn't be proud of the team we have at MCS. And I know that there's an anxiety level now in the community, and rightly so, about what school's going to look like in the fall. But from my perspective, I feel good about where MCS is, that we're going to have a safe environment, and we're going to be moving forward, onward and upward. So the documents are available publicly. I think you all have had numerous opportunities to review those. At this point, I would open the floor to questions from any member of the board before we move just to ratify.
We're going to do some rollout that includes some video, perhaps on our website, that does a little more explaining how this evolved. Would be beneficial.
Well, we actually have
Oh,
some
yeah.
of that already. Jim, Susanna, and I did something to,
Yes,
to
we did.
share, and so that gives us some information. And I know that what we're planning on doing is capturing some of the work and being able to use video and different methods to keep people informed of our process and progress.
I think there are a couple of things to note. One of which is the work that Brad and team did. I think it's important to note that the strategic plan and the innovation plan is true to the charge of fiscal responsibility. And I think that was something that 2 years ago, prior to the time that we had Brad and of course Dr. K, you know, that was one of those questions that I don't think anybody really had a very good feel for. And knowing that all of these are projections, and we all know that projections are just that, I don't know what funding's gonna do, enrollment's gonna do, whatever, but I think, you know, when you go through and you look at debt service, you look at you know, the projections of being able to provide and fund this innovation plan, it should put us in a great position. And I think that's a no, because that is really a lot of work that was well done. So we should reflect on it.
Yes, and I would say that Brad has spent a lot of hours working with Baker Tilly, with our folks going back and forth. And there are some things that this board will have to do here in the next year or two, but those are all very doable in terms of managing as we retire one debt and with the funding from the education fund, the operation fund, potentially addressing that issue. But I feel good about that as well.
One of the direct charges we had from the state was to help ensure everyone's fiscal responsibility.
Right.
And from a confidence standpoint, I hope anybody who's listening or anybody who's paying attention can feel pretty good about the fact that you know, we're in a position to be able to do the best we can for our students, which is our strategy.
Thank you for bringing that up. Any other comments from anybody? I think as a board, we simply need to approve it, understanding that it is a living document. The strategic plan is just that, a plan, and will be subject to, I think in the document, we've committed to review and revision at least annually, perhaps more. And again, there will be opportunities that present themselves that none of us have yet foreseen, and we will be in a position to adapt to those quickly. So if there is no additional questions on that, what I would suggest is the motion be that we approve the report on fiscal condition, the innovation plan, and the strategic plan as prepared and submitted to the statutory entities. And I don't believe, as I read the statute, they can certainly have questions, and we'll want to have perhaps some explanations, but there is not an approval process. So we're simply, again, approving on our end to keep things moving forward. So, Mr. Urban, got a motion? Second. Or Dr. O'Neill, seconded. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Do you mind if I say one more thing?
I don't.
So, you know, I have to give the last word in, but, you know, Jim Williams has just been simply remarkable. He has spent hours and hours having conversations with people about what they believe are great ideas for Muncie Community Schools. And then he also spent a significant amount of time writing and revising and talking to different stakeholders about where we were going and what was happening. And you know, board members, all of you just do such a great job for us. But Jim really went over and above with his work with our innovation plan and strategic plan.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You get emails that you see that say like 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. Like, go to sleep.
It was really, we had a wealth of wonderful material. It was a matter of really taking that abundance that Muncie is so blessed to have. And I'll say this publicly, I think this is a wonderful community. And I think people are generous and giving, kind, and peaceful, and humane. And there is a real desire to see this venture be the best it can be. I think citizenship in this community is very, very sound. So thank you. With that, anything additional? Seth, welcome back. Do you have any questions?
I just have one. Can you hear me?
I can.
What is the deadline for families to choose the traditional or virtual, and do you expect them to choose one a lot more than the other?
So registration process is open all the way. We begin August 11th. We would like all families to select by August 11th. If we have families move in, of course, we continue accepting registration year-round. We really are not certain how our parents are going to respond with if they want to send their students to our traditional school or to our virtual program. To date, we had 60 students who have been registered for our online school. We still have a lot of registration to go yet, Seth. We have 2 registration dates. Make sure you print that in the paper. July 14th and July 16th. We want families to go to, all of our schools will be open for registration in a socially distanced way. And we just are encouraging families to continue to register.
You said 60 online, how many additional?
So right now, it's still early, but we have about 2,000 in true.
So 2,000 compared to 60.
Right now. Most families tell us they're ready for their students to come back.
Seth, anything additional? Any other media here tonight? Okay. Anything from anybody for the good of the order before we shut it down?
But I think one more, we have Paul Dittmeyer, who's in the audience, who hasn't been to a board meeting. So Paul is our director with SSC of our facilities and operations, and just done a remarkable job. So I just want to acknowledge all the work that he's done for us.
Would it be possible, I know that Tamika and Dawn wanted to just give a few words. Can they grace the
We
podium?
would love to hear from them.
All right, hello. Again, my name is Dawn Claghorn. I'm very excited to join the Muncie Community School family. I already have some ties to Muncie. I come up here for the past 13 years, one Sunday a month, because I'm an advisor for the Alpha Gamma Delta sorority on Ball State's campus. So I'm excited to spread my wings and be more involved in the community through education. I don't know, I'm just excited to be here. I love middle school, so I'm pumped up and ready to go. But I'm married. I celebrate my 25th anniversary in December. I have 2 daughters in college. One's a senior. One will be a sophomore. My senior took a little bit of a break, but she'll be a senior, and I have a junior. So, wow, I'm just excited to be here.
Welcome, Dawn.
Hello, I am Tamika Wilson, as you stated before, but I have been a part of the Muncie Southside family for 2 years, so I'm excited to still be a part of the family, but also join the leadership team so we can continue moving Southside to, make sure that we're continuing to show that growth that we're looking for, and just look at Southside as a different view, and just continue to move the kids to where they need to be. I'm excited, even with COVID, I'm just excited just to see the kids again and see meet our new 6th graders. So I'm excited to be on the leadership team. And I can assure you guys that we're going to continue to, lead Muncie Southside and then just continue to show growth in our school. So we're excited.
Thank you. Anything further? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll stand adjourned. Thank you.